The other thing that is really fascinating about your company and specifically you, now I'm going right to you, David, is this dedication towards writing as a form of communicating and establishing the thought, purpose, vision, whatever you might want to say for what to do next. You've clearly invested quite a bit of time. Very few technical leaders, they don't appear to be writing. I don't know. We've that's not like a strength of theirs, and they don't seem to cultivate and develop it. How did you make the decision to invest in your writing? How did you get better, or were you just naturally pretty good at it already?
No, I think there are very few natural born super
Yeah.
writers in this world. But what I was good at quite early was I was a good reader. I read a lot and I read the best there was. And I was just obsessed with reading about software development in particular, organizational structure. It's actually only sort of in the last few years I've even started reading fiction because I was so
Mm.
obsessed with reading nonfiction. I was so obsessed with learning about my craft, learning about my industry, learning about all these things, psychology and all the adjacent areas that are relevant to running the business. And then I got inspired. I got inspired by reading great writers, great technical writers in particular. And I thought, like, do you know what? I'd love to be one of them. And then I started writing. And I've literally been writing for the web for, what was that, 26 years now or something like that? I must have written literally thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of entries on the web in large or small form. And eventually, if you do that, you'll probably become pretty good at it. Now, it's not an automatic process, and there's repeated training that does nothing. You need to do dedicated training, intentional training, where you're trying to push yourself and get better. And it also just helped that I love writing. It is such a joyous activity to me that it's not something I'm forcing myself to. This is one of the reasons why I fell in love with programming. It was because it felt like writing, at least at the level of abstraction that I'm interested in working at with the kinds of IT systems that I work on and with the kind of programming language I work with. Ruby just fit like a glove for my brain in that regard. But writing to me is absolutely crucial if you want to be not just a good writer, but a good thinker. Clear writing is clear thinking. And this is one of those sometimes uncomfortable connections because you might think, well, I'm not good at all about writing, but I'm a very strong thinker. I'd push back a little bit on that. I think if you are a very strong thinker, you can certainly also learn the trade of writing to a point where you can express yourself clearly. And if you are a muddled writer, there's probably a good chance you're also a muddled thinker. And again, you can work on both of those things. There are some levels of innate talent, but very much of it is in the dedication that you put into it. But lots of people just aren't interested in putting in the work it requires to become really good at writing, which I think is just such a shame because in almost all domains that we work in, anything adjacent to the creative world or the programming world or even the business world, writing is a superpower. It allows you to communicate your message, your mission, your motivation to just vast audiences that I can publish something that is read by tens of thousands of people. And I find that just to be thrilling to be able to communicate ideas clearly in this way and not just thrilling, incredibly effective. There is no way we could run our organization as productive as it is on as many platforms as it's on, as profitable as it's been, with as few people, without this absolute dedication to writing first and meetings last, I should say, too. These things go a little bit hand in hand. Sometimes the people who don't like writing very much, they like meetings, they like talking. And that has its place too. I don't want to poo-poo that. And sometimes I wish perhaps I was better or at least could simply endure meetings to a higher degree. But I'm unfortunately in some circumstances almost allergic. And that means I'm not very good in that domain. So I ply my trade with the writing. It is something I think is absolutely crucial. I wish more people put more energy into it. It's one of those things that aligns so well with the best piece of advice I ever got from Jeff Bezos, who bought a minority stake from Jason and I, not invested in the company, but bought secondaries from Jason and I back in 2006. And we had a bunch of great free ranging conversations with over the years. But the one thing that really sticks out that he told us early on was invest in the things that don't change. And he made the example from Amazon of saying, are customers ever going to wake up thinking, oh, I wish my packages were delivered slower? I wish it took a
Right.
week instead of 2 days. Absolutely never. As he put it, all the money we invest in getting better and better and better at delivering packages faster, those are just things that don't change. That investment is never going to waste. And I think of the same way with writing. every investment I make in writing, that is something that's going to pay dividends until I close my eyes, literally and forever. And that seems like just these kinds of too good to pass up investments where I can invest a tremendous amount of energy in some hot new technology. And then, okay, that has a lifespan of 3 years or 5 years, maybe. Perhaps the lucky cases or the stop-in cases, as I've had it with something like Ruby that lasts for 20 years, they're not that common in technology. Things do
Yeah.
churn over. But you know
Yeah.
what? Writing is forever.
I learned that when I was earmarked very early on in my career to do like leadership training. They talked about like the number one thing that breaks apart companies or projects. They said, and you can guess all these things. Oh, it's skill, it's resource, it's all these things. They actually told us it was alignment. Alignment is the ability for everyone to think about the end, like the same end objective, and maybe the same way to get there. And your points about writing is exactly that. It's aligning many people to see the same thing because I think that's kind of my hypothesis on why people have meetings is because they're trying to revalidate, like, this is what we're doing or this is what we're not doing. It's all in an effort to get that alignment. Like we have to be thinking the same way. When you were writing these ideas of like how we're going to do the next thing, because that's what's cool about your company. You're building new things every 6 weeks. It sounds like you're investing quite a bit of time into declaring the next step before putting it to paper so that everyone on the team can say, okay, we understand where the company needs to go next. Is that accurate? Or do you also sprint through that?
Yes and no. I would say we spend a lot of time thinking about this and reflecting on it, but then we try actually to generalize this further than just the people who happen to work at 37 Signals right now. This is why we've written so many public posts. This is why we've written
Yeah.
so many books, because we're also designing this company for prospective employees and for everyone else who can benefit from this, right?
Yeah.
The kind of
I've
alignment
read it.
and exactly, right? The kind of ideas that we're trying to promote are ideas that I think are right both for the people who actually work at the company I'm a co-owner at and also everyone else, that we're in the same tribe. We're trying to figure out how to write good software. And that problem is a very difficult one, which means it's a fun one. It's kind of like chess. You can start developing software with surprisingly little knowledge about anything. And then you can spend an absolute lifetime trying to master it, right? Trying to master the techniques and the tactics and everything else there is to it. So I kind of feel like it's a collective action problem that we shouldn't try to constrain just within a single company. That's kind of actually lazy. It's also slow. We iterate faster on the best ideas if we have more eyeballs dedicated to them. Doesn't mean we will always disagree in all regards, but we actually put most of our writing and thinking out there. But at the same time, we also try to be brief. I mean, if there's anything I hate, it's a 600-page tome about something that could have been, if not a tweet, then a blog post, right? So this is why all our books are just collections of essays. There is almost no topic, individual scope topic, that I cannot distill good version of what I want to say about that in 2 pages.
So IT Visionaries is powered by Salesforce Platform and Dreamforce 2022. Catch the news and insights coming out of Dreamforce this year for free on salesforce.com/plus. Content will start rolling on September 20th.